Hi, welcome back. This is Tammy again. Let's begin with lesson 14. Do you speak English? Well, if you can understand me right now, then I'm going to assume that yes, you speak English. But let's read the text, Do you speak English? And then let's answer this question. Did the young man speak English? It says, here are two drivers first of all. Here's the driver. And here's another man. I had an amusing experience last year. After I had left a small village in the south of France, I drove on to the next town. On the way, a young man waved to me. I stopped and he asked me for a lift. As soon as he got into the car, I said good morning to him in French, and he replied in the same language. Apart from a few words, I do not know any French at all. Neither of us spoke during the journey. I had nearly reached the town when the young man suddenly said, very slowly, "Do you speak English?" As soon as I learned, he was English himself. So, let's answer this question. Did the young man speak English? After reading this, he suddenly said very slowly, "Do you speak English?" As soon as I learned, he was English himself. So the answer is yes, the young man did speak English. Let's learn the new words and expressions. Amusing. Amusing means something that entertains us. It's something that we find entertaining. Experience. Experience is something that we have done before in the past, something that we have knowledge of. Here it says, I had an amusing experience last year. So something that he had done was entertaining to him. Wave. Wave is a hand gesture we make when we want to say hello to someone without saying it with our mouth. This is a wave. I'm waving. Lift means to give someone a ride in the car. He asked me for a lift, meaning he asked me, could he ride in the car I was driving? Reply. Reply means to give someone an answer to something they have asked us. And language is the way we communicate verbally. Now the language I am speaking to you is English. Your language may be Chinese, or people that live in France, their way to communicate with each other, their language is French. And journey is to take a trip or to travel. A journey is to travel. Notes on the text. I drove on to the next town, meaning he kept on driving to the next town. He continued driving. On the way, meaning from one point to the next point, in between those 2 points is on the way. Ask for a lift is to ask for a ride in a vehicle or a car. Apart from. Apart from. Here it says, apart from a few words, meaning there was only a few words he knew. Only a few words that I knew. As I soon learnt. As I soon learnt means he learned something very soon. He learned it Soon, not later. As I soon learnt, he would learn something soon. Now we're going to answer some questions about what we just read. Number 1. Whom did the writer give a lift to in the south of France last year? It says, he gave a lift to a young man. He gave a lift to a young man. And this is the young man he gave a lift to. Number 2. Did they greet each other in English or in French? Well, if you can remember from the text, it says, I said good morning to him in French, and he replied in the same language. So that means that they greeted each other in French. Does the writer speak any French or not? Does the writer speak any French? It says, apart from a few words, I do not know French at all. So apart from a few words means that he knows a little French. He doesn't know a lot, but he knows a few words. So yes, the writer does speak French, a little French, not a lot. Did they sit in silence or did they talk to each other? Well, I don't think it would be very comfortable to sit and drive a car with someone sitting next to you and not say anything at all. That would be uncomfortable. But it says here, neither of us spoke during the journey. So that means when he was driving, they weren't speaking to each other. It was very quiet in the car. So, did they sit in silence? Yes, they sat in silence. What did the young man say at the end of the journey? The young man said, very slowly, do you speak English? So the young man said, do you speak English? Was he English himself or was he French? It says he was English. He was English himself. Key structures. After he had finished work, he went home. Let's read these two sentences. He finished work. He went home. We can join these two sentences together with the word after. We can say, after he had finished work, he went home. Note how these sentences have been joined and pay close attention to the words in italics. The children ran away. They broke the window. We can say the children ran away after they had broken the window. The sun set. We returned to our hotel. We can join those two sentences together and say, as soon as the sun had set, we returned to our hotel. He finished lunch. He asked for a glass of water. We can join those two sentences together and say, when he had finished lunch, he asked for a glass of water. I did not understand the problem. He explained it. I had not understood the problem until he explained it. Exercise A. These questions are about the passage. Let's write a complete sentence in answer to each question. Number 1, when did you drive on to the next town? When did you drive on to the next town? Let's see. After I had left a small village in the south of France, I drove on to the next town. When did you say good morning to him in French? As soon as he had got into the car, I said good morning to him in French. When did the young man say, "Do you speak English?" I had nearly reached the town when the young man suddenly said. So I had nearly reached the town when the young man said, "Do you speak English?" Exercise B. Join these sentences together. Okay, so let's join these sentences together. Number 1 says, I left a small village in the south of France. I drove on to the next town. I drove on to the next town. After I had left a small village in the south of France, I drove on to the next town. After I left a small village in the south of France, I drove on to the next town. Number 2, he got into the car. I said good morning to him in French. As soon as he had got into the car, I said good morning to him in French. I nearly reached the town. The young man said, "Do you speak English?" I had nearly reached the town when the young man suddenly said, very slowly, "Do you speak English?" I had nearly reached the town when the young man suddenly said, "Do you speak English?" Exercise C. Join these pairs of sentences with the words given in parentheses. So we're going to join these two sentences together with the word after. Number 1, she wrote the letter. She went to the post office. She wrote the letter, and after she went to the post office. After, he had dinner. He went to the cinema. We could say he had dinner after he went to the cinema. When, I fastened my seatbelt. The plane took off. I fastened my seatbelt when the plane took off. Until, we did not disturb him until he finished work. As soon as, he left the room, I turned on the radio. As soon as he left the room, I turned on the radio. I'm going to wait until he leaves. And soon as he leaves, I'm turning on the radio. Yeah. He was very ill before he died. He was very ill before he died. Exercise D. Give the correct form of the verbs in parentheses. The moment he had said this, he began to regret it. It begun to rain before she took a taxi. It had begun to rain before she took a taxi. When all the guests had left, Derek arrived. Special difficulties. Ask and ask for. He asked me for a lift. Ask is a question. When we ask a question, after the lesson, he asked me a question. Ask for is when we ask for something. He asked for an apple pie or an apple. Except for, apart from a few words. When except is used at the beginning of a sentence, it is followed by for. Except for. Let's read these sentences. I invited everyone except George. Except for or apart from this, everything is in order. Which of, either of, neither of, both of, neither of us. We use these words when we refer to two persons or things. Which of the two do you want? Either of them will do. I like neither of them. I bought both of them. Let's choose the correct words in these sentences. Except for a slight headache, I feel all right now. I liked them very much, so I bought both of them. Except or apart from being a bit too long, the play was very good. I asked a question. I did not ask for an answer. He could not answer either of the questions I asked. The young man stopped the writer because he wanted a free ride in the car. The two men didn't speak to each other during the journey because they each thought the other was French. What kind of car did he drive? As soon as he got into the car, I said good morning. I said good morning the moment he had got into the car. Just after he got into the car. Good morning, I said. I speak a few words of French. I don't know much French. Neither of us spoke. We both didn't speak. On the way, a young man waved to me. This happened during the writer's journey. The young man waved to the writer. He saluted him or signaled to him. He asked for a lift. He was a hitchhiker. He replied in French. He answered the writer in French. The writer had almost reached the town when the young man spoke. Sentence structure. Rewrite this sentence, then check your answer against the text. I know no French at all. I do not know any French. I do not know any French. I had an amusing experience last year. I do not know any French at all. 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 So this is the end of this video lesson. When we begin again, we're going to start on lesson 15. Good news. So this is Tammy saying bye.